All right, everyone. We start off today talking about, of course, the Elon Musk, Donald Trump discussion. There was an X space, Twitter. I mean, we all call it Twitter. X, okay, that's perfectly fine. X.com. It's only a single letter, so it's pretty exclusive, but I still refer to it as Twitter. They had a conversation the other day. It did not go off without a hitch. There were technical difficulties plaguing them for the first 20, 30 minutes or thereabouts. And there was a DDoS attack. This is what Elon Musk claims. Some people are saying that's not true. It doesn't really matter, but they did have technical difficulties. I think it was more that so many people wanted to tune in that they weren't exactly primed for the number of people that decided to join the Trump space. It doesn't need a DDoS attack at that point. You know, when you've got over 1 million people connecting at the same time, the website might have a few issues with loading and so forth. They finally got it taken care of, though. They had their conversation. It was pretty nominal. Here's what struck me. And it struck me, actually, over the last few weeks, as soon as Kamala took over with the Democratic campaign. Have you noticed this? And there's a reason, by the way, that the legacy media is only talking about the tech issues with regards to the Twitter space, and they're not talking about the content there other than basic bitch fact-checking, that they never do, by the way, to Kamala. They never fact-check her. I've never seen an article so far in the campaign where they fact-check what she says. It's probably because it would be a little bit lopsided. They want to cast Trump off as a liar, and Kamala, therefore, is telling the truth. That ain't how the world works, dog. That's just not how it works. Have you noticed when Donald Trump is in an interview or giving a rally, or when he makes one of his Agenda 47 videos, like on Rumble or something like that, he's become more linear than he was in 2016. He sticks to the issues. I know where he stands on hundreds of different issues. Hell, his very first upload, he had an Agenda 47 video that was uploaded exclusively to Rumble. I know exactly where he stands on everything related to tech-free expression. I know he wants to reform Section 230 in line with exactly what I've suggested, which is you can be a platform, you can be a publisher, but you can't really be both. You get legal protection or you're a common carrier. And that's the way the internet should work, and I strongly agree with that. I know that he wants to pass an Internet Bill of Rights. This, by the way, will probably not happen, but it's still a good idea, and he should still push it, etc., 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 on down the line. I know what his tax proposals would be. It would be an extension of the Trump tax cuts with added leverage on that. With Vance, even with him. Tim Walz just shouts slogans all the time and says socialism is neighborliness. And J.D. Vance is saying, hey, I want to double the child tax credit. I think that would be a good idea. I'll try to get Donald to do that. What more could you possibly want? It's fleshed out. It's very linear. It's well-spoken. It's well-explained. He's willing to go into the lion's den onto very adversarial networks like the CNN debate or the Black podcast there. He's willing to do that. He goes out in public and he tells people what he actually stands for. I know where he stands on most issues. I know where he stands on Ukraine. I know where he stands on Israel v. Gaza. I know where he stands on trade wars. I know where he stands. I mean, I could rattle it off. I could make a 30-minute video just telling you about Donald Trump's stances because they've all been aired out there. But when Kamala comes out and speaks, it's a bunch of vacuous slogans, and there's not a whole lot there. Like, for example, I know a couple of her positions. I know she wants to raise my taxes by eliminating the Trump tax cuts, which under him would be extended and actually expanded. So I know she wants to get rid of the self-employment offset and charge me several thousand additional dollars a year just to fucking exist because I don't happen to have an employer. So I know that. I know that she wants to get rid of taxes on tips. The problem being that, well, that's a good idea. Trump actually mentioned it first, at least in this campaign. A handful of Democrats have muttered about it occasionally in the past. It never became a thing. Like Bernie Sanders, for example. To his credit, that's actually a good idea. It comes from the far left, mainly. But Trump's the only mainline candidate that's inside of the orthodoxy of ideology who's actually expressed it at all. Joe Biden muttered about it one time over a year ago, and that's basically the only thing you get at the federal level from the Democratic Party. I know that Kamala wants to confiscate my AR-15, which is a bad idea because there are an awful lot of them in the country, and you might start a civil war or something. At the very least, there would definitely be attrition. There would be casualties. People would get hurt because they're not going to give them up willingly. Mine was lost in a boating accident recently. You know, I went to the beach and shit, fell in the tidal pool, and there were crabs all over it. And I didn't want the snibbity snabs to snibbity snab my fingers, so, you know, I just said, fuck, it'll just rust into a pile of ashes anyway. So, yeah, mine has been lost in a boating accident like everyone else's. So I know where Kamala stands on a few issues, and mostly I disagree with her. I mean, the other day, she came out and said, well, it's a great idea if we were to empty out the detainment centers along the southern border. That's wonderful. So, like 500,000 more illegals in the country on day one. The average American, I'm sure, supports this basic premise. She's nuts, and she's trying to hide, which is why she hasn't tacitly agreed to the three-debate schedule that Donald Trump has put forth, which was also wise. It was something that I said, you've got to do this. You got to go to the ABC debate, challenge her to a couple more, return to a normal debate schedule that was interrupted by the lockdownist period, actually. And he wisely did so, and that's another reason I think he has an advantage. All you got to do is expose Kamala Harris. Trump, meanwhile, when he has a conversation like this about tech, about science, about politics in general, sociopolitics, diplomacy, he fleshes out his ideas. I know exactly what I'm buying with Donald Trump. It's like here's the difference. Let's say I offer you two products. One, it's got full labeling, you know all the components, you know everything that's inside it. Or you can buy this box that is completely unlabeled, you have no fucking clue what's inside of it. Now if you're a gambler, maybe you go with the unlabeled box. The average person is going to say, well, this is a known quantity. This could have a rhino turd in it. So I don't think that I want to buy it. In Kamala's case, it's probably less palatable, by the way, than a rhino turd. Expose her. You must expose her. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. That's the best thing that we have against Kamala right now. And the fact is that some people approve of her because she's an unknown quantity. I've talked about it before. It's the Kasich effect. Trump is doing everything he can to dismantle it. He's going out and having conversations with people, including people who don't necessarily, they're not his besties or anything like that. And I know where he stands on the issues. Go through the debate, discussion there on X, once you get past the part where it was sort of having problems. It was having a thrombo. He actually talks about issues. Well, Kamala doesn't do that. She just sloganeers. You know, we're going to circle back around. Hey, I'm female and stuff like that. Okay, well, that's wonderful. What are your thoughts about this foreign diplomatic crisis? What are your thoughts about Taiwan? What are your thoughts about this specific tax, etc., etc.? She's an empty vessel. By the way, she's being astroturfed right now by a super PAC associated with the goddamn Bush family. This is no joke. There's several people actually fronted this to me earlier. They DM'd me on Twitter. Apparently there's a super PAC, and it's the, you know when you see those posts that are like, well, I'm a Republican against Trump. I'm an anti-Trump Republican and stuff like that, or a former Republican who's voting for Kamala, rather. That's all an astroturf. Those people, generally speaking, aren't even real. They're paying $50 million, by the way, for this ad campaign. This is the most astroturf bullshit election that I've ever seen in my fucking goddamn life. This makes 2020 look normal. But the fact is that Trump can actually give the voter his views on issues. Tell us what you intend to do. Kamala Harris isn't telling us jack shit. I don't know what the fuck she's going to do about most of the issues that actually matter to me. And on the issues that do matter that she's weighed in on, of course, it's basically Biden 2.0, which is effectively Obama 4.0. So, yeah, no thanks, my dude. Donald Trump is willing to actually talk to the public. And as the capper, this is the nightcap for the the strange events here, Kamala has now been invited to join a Twitter space. I bet that, I don't think that it would get as many views as the Donald Trump one. And that would be very telling, which is why she probably would not actually join a space and talk to Elon Musk. Which is funny, because he's an immigrant, which means you should be sucking his cock right now. And you're good at doing that, supposedly, so you would think that she would take the opportunity. Why don't you go on Twitter into the lion's den like Donald Trump does every other fucking week? Because he has. And he's prevailed, generally speaking, when he does so. I think he likes the adversarial nature. It's like he's going to go on The View or something like that. Can you imagine? Kamala won't even go on Fox News, let alone like a podcast online that leans right. She'd get chewed up and spit out. The Democrats know this. They're basically trying to hide her as much as they can until the election. That's the long and short of it. Trump's out there every single day telling people what he believes in, cutting ads. He's back on Twitter. We'll be talking about that. And triumphing in that sense. Kamala's like, okay, you held a rally. Whoop-de-doo. Every presidential candidate does that. How many of those people did you have to pay to show up, by the way? And it's still 1/10 the size of a Trump rally. That's about all. Peace out.